Salutations my Fallout lovers, it is Matty here today bringing you a Fallout 4 news update. Today we finally got a full reveal of Fallout 4's leveling system and perk chart, and today we're going to be analyzing that and looking at everything we learned today. So without further ado, let's dive in, and before I go any further, bless you God powered. The first perk we learn about is better criticals, and what I'd like to highlight is that it does 50% extra damage even though it's only at its first rank. A lot of people were wondering about this if we'd start at a base of like 10% and build up, but it's very interesting to know they give us the original perk stats and then we can build up from there. So I'm very curious to see how powerful this perk can become and what additional buffs we get with it. Next is Big Leagues, and that allows us 20% additional melee damage. It's at rank 1, and since there's 5 ranks, I'm going to assume that with each rank you do an additional 20% damage, meaning that you could get a 100% increase in your melee weapon damage. And talking about that makes me think that better criticals, since there were only 3 ranks, that probably means that you have 3 ranks and you'll go up to 75%, then 100%. So you can really make a powerful character in this game. Next we have Commando, and Commando's had quite a big change that I'd like to point out. It used to be that it would improve your accuracy in VATS with two-handed weapons, but now it does automatic weapons with 20% additional damage, and obviously once again it's a 5 rank perk, meaning that that can go up to 100%. But I really like to focus on that change that they completely altered what Commando does, and more specifically that it's focusing on automatic weapons. Does this mean there will be perks for sniper rifles like one-shots or semi-autos or something along those lines? Now we have Gun Nut, one of our earliest perks that we always invested in Fallout 3, and now we can see that this affects our gun mods, as we did learn during the Bethesda E3 conference. This is, you can gain access to rank 2 gun mods, which is cool. So obviously this will be a favorite perk amongst Fallout fans because we obviously will be using that crafting system extensively. Next is Rifleman, and yes, as I suggested, attacks with non-automatic rifles do 20% more damage, so that's very awesome, so that it caters to different play styles. What I'd really like to focus on mainly though, is that we may recognize this perk image. If we go back to the perception video, it's actually one of the first perks we can unlock. A lot of us were having trouble identifying it, and it seems, yes, it is a brand new perk, but now we know what that perk is. And now we get a description of one of our former skills and see how it's transformed into a perk. Science takes full advantage of advanced technology with access to base level and rank 1 high-tech mods. And in my opinion, to me, this seems like Science will cater to energy weapon customization. And lastly is Toughness. If nothing else, you can take a beating, instantly gain plus 10 damage resistance, and it's at rank 1, meaning that the final rank will be plus 50. Finally, I'd like to point out that we did see this in the Endurance special video just yesterday, so I figured that'd be worth pointing out. Now we're getting into the good stuff. We have charisma training here, which naturally is our ability to convince others, barter, all that stuff that involves conversation. But what I really want to focus on is that you can actually train your special stats through perk points, which I find quite shocking. As we can see here, we have 2 stars and we have the ability to choose to rank up our charisma again and make us a better speaker. I both like and dislike this, but I'll get into that in a later video. I skipped ahead a little bit because all the video did was give us definitions of the special stats that we already knew about since E3 and moved on to the perks that you guys are definitely interested in. So the first perk we learn about under the charisma tree is Cap Collector. You've mastered the art of the deal. Buying and selling prices at vendors are better. So naturally this is basically our barter skill. Next is our Lady Killer perk, where women suffer an additional 5% damage in combat and are easier to persuade in dialogue. Now naturally, since we're playing as the male protagonist in this part of the video, I'm going to assume that if you're playing as a female, that this would be the Black Widow perk. Next is a very awesome perk because Todd Howard did talk a lot about saying that if you choose not to travel with companions, you will be rewarded in that way too. And it seems one of those rewards is a perk where it says that when adventuring without a companion, you take 15% less damage and your carry weight increases by 50, and that's only rank 1. So naturally, this is probably to curb some of the difficulty in the game because you may rely on your companion a little bit. We all have before. So this is a way to travel alone if you do want to be that lone wanderer, and I very much commend Bethesda for this move. Next is a very odd perk. It's called Attack Dog, and it says your faithful canine companion, naturally Dogmeat, can hold an enemy, giving you a greater chance to hit them in VATS. Now this is certainly a fantastic perk idea, but I'm kind of confused as to why this isn't a companion perk if I spend a lot of time with Dogmeat. I wonder if it's just because Dogmeat doesn't have a questline because he's a dog. I'm not too sure about it, but nonetheless it's an interesting perk choice for the charisma tree. Next is Animal Friend, in which with your gun, aim at any animal below your level and gain a chance to pacify it. This does run along the same lines as both the older Fallouts and the newer Fallouts in the terms of what this perk does, but it's more of an interaction. Now I have to find the right animals and tactically use them and hope I can convince them. So I find that quite interesting, that to actually get an animal to fight by your side, you have to point your gun at them rather than ranking up that perk, and naturally any animal near you will fight anyone else provided they're not an animal. So it's an interesting change. Next is Local Leader, which is a perk we saw during the Settlement trailer at Bethesda's E3 conference, and now we finally know what it does. As the ruler, everyone turns to you. You are able to establish supply lines between your workshop settlements. Now, this doesn't sound like Brahmin caravans to me. This sounds like a steady supply of things that allow you to continue building in your settlements. So I really like the sounds of that, and I'm very interested to see how that perk develops, because there's only 2 ranks, so maybe it just says more supplies to your settlement, or perhaps you can get another set of money flying through or something along those lines. Next is Party Boy, which is there's no chance you'll get addicted to alcohol, which is very interesting. I wonder if the final rank for this applies to drugs. There's not much to say on this, but it's certainly an interesting perk to have at such a high charisma level. Next, we have Inspirational. Because you lead by example, your companion does more damage in combat and cannot hurt you. So that's quite interesting that they allow us to be hurt by our own companions right off the bat. This can lead to some frustration if you've played Fallout 1 or 2. How many times have you been killed by your damn companions? It's so frustrating. But nonetheless, this is an interesting companion perk choice, and I'm kind of surprised that all these are kind of filtering under them, under the Charisma tree rather. But I feel like this is because each companion has their own individual perks that give you certain benefits that you can only unlock through interacting with them. Getting to the bottom slowly but surely, we have Wasteland Whisperer. Master the post-apocalypse. With your gun, aim at any wasteland creature below your level and gain a chance to pacify it. So in the terms of wasteland creatures, I'm imagining things such as Yaogwais, rad scorpions, things along those lines. I don't know about a Deathclaw though. And the final perk under the Charisma stat is Intimidation. Time to show everyone who's boss. With your gun, aim at any human opponent below your level and gain a chance to pacify them. So without reiterating myself, we obviously know what that means, but it seems like Charisma is more of a combat-focused perk than a speech-focused perk. Obviously, we have things like Cap Collector or Lady Killer that are our speech-focused perks, but there are a lot more ones that deal with combat, such as the one where your companions don't shoot you during combat and do more damage, such as the ones where you can have your companions do more damage. This one right here, Intimidation, and the Wasteland creature one. It's very interesting to see that Charisma has a lot more to deal with combat, but it makes it a more dynamic world because you're able to convince these people to join you ahead of time and then run into the battle with them. So when you rank up Intimidation, we learn that that's how you can incite them to attack other enemies. So in the first rank, you can really only point your weapon at them and hope they put theirs away and run away from you. But I really want to focus on one thing, and that's a level requirement. So it now seems that perks have certain level requirements, which we were not aware of before this video. So in order to unlock perk rank 2 for Intimidation, you have to be level 23. I like the idea of this because it has game balance where you can't just dump all your perk points into one perk and get a really good buff early on in the game. And then we learn the final rank of Intimidation, which is when you successfully pacify someone, you can give them specific commands. So it seems that these contextual commands carry over to any type of human NPC. A lot of people were wondering if that was just a specific thing for Dogmeat, but it does seem those commands carry over into human companions and whatnot. But I'd also like to once again focus on the requirements for this perk, in which you have to be level 50 to unlock it. So you have to do a lot of work before you can do something like this. The next new perk we learn about is Vans. Let Vault-Tec guide you. The path to your closest quest target is displayed in VATS. And people were like, what in the world is this? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Fallout's own version of Clairvoyance. It seems that Vans stands for Vault-Tec Assisted Navigation System. The next new perk under Intelligence is Medic. Is there a doctor in the house? Stim packs restore 40% of lost health, and Radaway removes 40% of radiation. So it seems this is almost our medicine skill in a sense. But anyways, I find it interesting that this is a very early perk you can earn, and one that'll be very beneficial to all players. It's going to be very hard to avoid this one, since I assume that most of us will have at least 2 intelligence. Here we see Gun Nut again, and obviously we know what that does, but I'd also like to point out its level requirement for its 3rd rank. Along with that, I'd like to point out that it's under the Intelligence stat tree. Here we find another stat of ours from previous Fallout games crawling around. See what I did there? Anyway, Sneak, become Whisper, become Shadow. You are 20% harder to detect while sneaking, and obviously it's a 5 rank perk, meaning that by the time you hit 5 ranks, you're at 100%. So it's very interesting and obvious that we'd see this under our agility stat line. Next, we learn that Bloody Mess is tucked away under the Luck stat line, which is very interesting, and it does exactly what we'd expect. 5% bonus damage means every enemy will explode into gory red paste. Watch out for flying eyeballs. It's a 4 rank perk, so I'm assuming that we can do a 20% overall bonus damage. There are also some quotes from the Bethesda Net article that was associated with the video that I'd like to point out and highlight because they give us some additional information. They say, "It was our goal that all the perks be balanced amongst each other, regardless of if they required a 1 or a 10. The higher the special requirement, the more focused or exotic the perk was for that playstyle. Take, for example, the Agility 1 perk, Gunslinger, 20% more damage with pistols, and the Agility 10 perk, Gun Fu. Your second target in VATS takes 25% more damage regardless of the weapon." So what Bethesda is essentially saying here is that it's going to be balanced regardless if you put 10 in right off the bat or if you only put like 4 in and choose to level it up. I also like how they're making it unique as you progress, so if I do choose to dump into my agility skill tree, then I'm going to be rewarded for that. After that, they go on to say, what's important is that each of these perks is actually a mini perk tree with multiple ranks that also do new things. Gun Fu above allows even more damage the more targets you select, increasing the instant critical shots. Gunslinger has ranks that up the range of pistols, add a chance to disarm enemies, and even instant limb crippling shots. This is fantastic. The reason I say that is because I was absolutely terrified that you'd have to put into these perk points and all they do is increase damage by percentage, and that's it. And it was just a numbers game. I'm absolutely ecstatic to see that it's actually going to have effects and new perks in a sense, and that they are in fact mini perk trees. Bethesda follows that up with some additional examples. It allows us to fold perks we like from previous games into perk ranks in this new system. For example, the Fallout 3 perk, Paralyzing Palm, paralyze enemies through hand-to-hand, now becomes the rank 5 perk for Iron Fist, but you need to have chosen the previous 4 ranks of Iron Fist and be level 46. We also pushed old perks to do new things at higher ranks. Strongback doesn't just up the amount you can carry, higher ranks of it allow you to fast travel while encumbered, or even run while encumbered at the cost of action points. Absolutely fantastic, Bethesda. This is the example and confirmation that we need so that people can really rest easy with this leveling system. Following that up with probably the biggest surprise of it all, on top of all of that, you also get separate perks from the many in-game magazines you can find. There are over 100. Some of these grant an individual perk, while others up the rank of a perk associated with that magazine. For example, there are a 100-issue run of Grognak the Barbarian comics that each give you an additional rank of the Barbarian perk, which raises the critical damage of melee attacks. So this is kind of a mixture of the challenges from New Vegas, which when you completed challenges you unlocked additional perks, and also switching what the magazines in Fallout 3 did where they upped your skills to changing your perks and giving you additional perks. So now, not only can you level up these perks through the natural leveling system, but you can collect additional ones that aren't even available in the leveling system with these comic books, which is so freaking awesome. But that concludes my in-depth breakdown on Fallout 4's leveling system, trying to teach you guys about every single perk we could learn about in this video. Be sure to let me know what you've discovered in the comments down below. Along with that, your thoughts on the character leveling system in Fallout 4. I'm very curious as to what the community has to say about this. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.